Hey guys, welcome to Sully's Models, and today we're going to be looking at Tamiya's new Mk1 Spitfire. So I was going to do this video a little bit earlier on before I actually started really getting into painting the kit, but with some of the dodgy weather we've had recently, it was just absolutely belting down rain, so you wouldn't have heard much. I could have probably just dubbed over it, but I'm not very good at doing that, so we'll just do it as we go. So I'm going to show you the level of detail that's gone into this kit. It's absolutely amazing, and also sort of where we're going with this kit, what we're going to be doing with it, and kind of where I've got to with it now. So I'm basing this one on the 19 Squadron's Spitfire. It's quite a well known one. It's N3200. It's Rego. Some of you guys might recognise that one. It's the one that was involved in the Dunkirk. Was shot down and landed on the beaches of France. I believe it was pretty much forgotten about, and eventually was dug up off the beaches. Duxford somehow has got hold of it and rebuilt it and put it back in the air. So I believe she is the oldest Mk1 flying, as far as I'm aware, if I remember right. I think it was the Battle of Britain Memorial flight used to have the oldest one, but now Duxford's is actually the oldest Mk1 flying. So we'll get into it now. I'll move you across over to the bench, and I'll show you where we got up to and the extreme level of detail that is in this kit. It's just absolutely mental. I'm well chuffed with it. So let's get on with it. Okay, so here we have it, a Mk1 Spitfire by Tamiya. Absolutely fantastic kit, as I said before. So as I said, I normally do my sort of reviewy type video, so we're going to sort of cobble this all into one. So what I'll do is I'll go straight in to the instructions and see how they work out. So get this bad boy out of the way. So we have our instructions. Obviously on the front tells you everything you need to know, your paints required, the bits and bobs, all that sort of stuff. So nicely laid out, really well presented. So pretty much straight away you have to make a choice. So because there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can have your canopy open, or you can have your canopy closed. Closed. Which means you've got a slightly different part of fuselage to put together. So the main fuselage itself is a standard. The side walls for that part of the fuselage are slightly different. You've got one for a closed canopy and one for a side. So the difference is the fact that the side wall for the closed canopy is nice, straight and flat there. And the difference, which confused me a little bit halfway through, then I realised with the closed canopy, sorry, open canopy, there's a slight recess in the back here for the main part of the canopy to sit. So obviously you've got back canopy there, and the main canopy lid would have slid to the back there, so it's recessed slightly. I'm not quite sure whether they're doing it. I assume it's so that they don't have to make two different canopies to fit on. So it's one canopy and it just sort of fits in this recess. Looks a bit weird, but I think by the time you've put the canopy on itself, you're not really gonna notice it. Internally, he's quite nicely detailed, not that you can particularly see much of it once it's gone in. Do get brass parts with this. They're really nice, unpainted, but they're very nice, well detailed. You know, something you'd sort of expect to see from like Edard or HGW even. All the seat belts, you've got some for the some of the framework as well. But overall, very simple and easy to fit together. It didn't take me particularly long at all. Now as you get further through, well, I say further through, at some point you want to kind of figure out which version you want to use, because there's 3 schemes, 2 versions of the Mark 1. There's the very basic version which has a ring and pin gun sight, as well as opposed to the later one that has a holographic sight. Now I was going to go for the ring and pin because I wanted to do the one that's at the RF Museum at Cosford, which is the world's oldest Mark 1, which has got a ring and pin sight on it. I could not find, for the love nor money, the right decals for it. I know I could have done it myself, but there's a little Swift on the tail from the Squadron that I wanted, and I couldn't find it. So I gave up and went for Duxford's Mark 19 instead. As we get further through, once we've put it all together, we've got a couple of different masts depending on which version you're going for. Once you put it all together, you've got your basic generic stencils, which pretty much go on pretty much all of them in the Mark 1s anyway. But what you do have to consider is on 2 of the schemes, if I remember rightly, you have a black and white underwing. So you'll still use the stencils on the one, but they're not for the correspondent ones on the other side, which are white instead of black, obviously. So what you need to do is, once you've done your stencils on your main generic ones, you want to get your very nicely coloured scheme pattern, which will then tell you the right ones for that opposite wing. Also look very carefully at some of these, because you do have a few of the stencils, I you can see it very well, but there's a stencil there for the ground jack. The registration goes over that, as opposed to the stencil being over the registration, so you need to look quite carefully at your stenciling and your markings when you're doing it at the end. Like I said, you've got a couple. That's the one, that's the box art one. On the front there, 610 Squadron there, and you have the other one, which is 65 Squadron, which also has quite a different, a different, slightly different marker, which I hadn't really noticed before, is where you have normally your aircraft registrations on the tail is actually underneath the wings there, which I've only noticed in sort of 60s and 70s, mainly naval aircraft. That's a little bit different there. But like it says on ours that we're doing, actually doesn't even have roundels on the bottom, which we've got on our Mark 1 at Cosford, which I thought was wrong. Actually turns out it's very different. In the Mark 1 series, they're a little bit higgledy-piggledy marked, so yeah, it gets a bit confusing for the enthusiast sometimes, unless you're really into this kind of thing and you understand it, as well. Sometimes I don't. So that's the instructions and the markings there. Very nice poster to go on the wall afterwards if you want. So we'll move on to the aircraft itself. The detailing, as I said before, is absolutely superb. The gun ports, sorry, not the gun ports, sorry, the gun bays, the panelling for there, the wing panelling in general, absolutely spot on. Even the navigational lights on the wing are perfect, and even to everything on the underside is so detailed. The hinges, you can see they're all there. They haven't just done a raised lump, they've done proper piano hinges on the bottom there. I must say Tamiya has actually gone through a hell of a lot of effort in getting these markings and panel lines to an absolute T. The cockpit detail also is spot on. I'm struggling to fault it, if I'm being honest with you. Just, you know, it's absolutely, you know, bang on really. The only one saying about faulting, there's only one issue. Get my instructions back out with. Don't understand why they have done this, but I found it very annoying because I hate rubbing panel lines out at the best of times. And the front engine cowl, or the main and top engine cowl, I'm not going to find it now. Oh, there we are. Has that part there, and trying to get that seam line out without taking off your locking panels for the to get attached to the airframe. It was an absolute nightmare to get it cleared out. Obviously I've managed to do it, but there was a lot of frustration in that, so that is the only issue I think I really had with putting this together, was that. And I think it was absolutely ridiculous, but other than that, no issues whatsoever. Absolutely great. So now we'll move on to what we're going to be doing as opposed to weathering. Okay, so now we've come to the weathering stage, the best stage of a build in my opinion. So I've tried to make this, as I always do, as it's actually served, and done a bit of legwork. To get this effect is actually quite simple. Now there's a couple of methods of doing this. This is basically the good old hairspray technique. So basically what you do is you spray your aircraft's base coat, which in this case is going to be I've used a flat aluminium, and then all you do is on top of that is you spray either the hairspray or AK, do a worn effect. They do a couple of different types of this. There are other companies do this type of products for weathering. All you do is stick it in the airbrush, coat the aircraft or your model in the stuff, let it dry, put 2 or 3 coats on to thicken it out a little bit, and then all you do is you spray your top coat, top coats on top, your markings and whatever, and then all you do is wet the top of it and then start ebbing away at it. Now I've used a couple of tools to do this with, a couple of basically sort of airbrush cleaner piping, so they're quite stubborn. Even the same sort of thing with a tooth cleaner, can use that. For some of the lighter scratching, either a sewing needle or even a cocktail stick are absolutely fine to use. Really good tools to use for this type of weathering. So to achieve this chipping effect's really simple and easy to do. So like I said, we've put our silver base coat down, worn effects, and then our top coat of the camouflage. Then all we get is a fairly stiff brush and basically coat the area you want to start working on with water. This will start to react to it and start lifting the paint, so you can sort of ebb away at it and, you know, start getting your chipping effect in place. So working on it, you don't want to do too much to make it look either unrealistic or a bit stupid. So just work at little bits and pieces and sort of see how you feel it looks, whether it's good or not. So you don't want to go, you know, you're not going too far. Now as well, you don't have to do this straight away after you've put your paint down. This is over a week since I've actually put the paint on and started doing the chipping effect. Also, I'm working through a layer of matte varnish, so it does take a little bit of time for it to start working its way in, but just keep at it, and then you start getting the chipping effect. So yeah, it's just literally whatever you feel is what you want it to be. So keep working at it, and keep thinking, is that enough? Is that not enough? So by this point, I'm quite happy with the effect there. Across the leading edge of the wing. It's not too much, just a nice little kind of light chip in there. And then next we'll move on to the walkways. So using the airbrush cleaners now to sort of do the walkway to make it look like people have been getting on and off the aircraft all the time. So again, it's exactly the same thing. Put some water down, let it soak in a little bit, and then just slowly work your way through it. I said before, as you can see here, I've overdone a little bit, but I'm still quite happy with it. Again, a little bit more chunk than I would have wanted to have taken out, but this is what I mean. You need to very slowly work your way at it. Sort of like corners like this can be quite difficult to work away. All the edges of the panels were coming away quite nicely the way I wanted, but I was struggling to get sort of inside a little bit. So sometimes, like the toothpick version, being quite small, gets into them areas a little bit better. So it's all about taking your time with it, and just slowly working your way through and ebbing away at that paint. Okay, so for this next part of the build and the weathering, I'm going to put a wash on, and I'm going to be using Flores Models Dark Dirt. This, you've seen me probably, if you follow me, I've used this quite a lot. It's a really good wash. It's clay based, so there's no real anything aggressive in this to attack the paintwork. I mean, if you used an enamel wash over the top of acrylic or vice versa, there's no real problems there, because you're using completely different paints, materials and thinners, so it shouldn't react to either or. But obviously, if you're using an acrylic or enamel wash on the same type of paint, so acrylic on acrylic, there's a good chance that you might start wearing some of that stuff away. But this stuff is really good. I absolutely love it, because I use it on pretty much everything. So it's just clay and water. I think it's water anyway, or maybe some like washing up liquid. So all you have to do is give it a good shake, apply it to the model, and then all you'll need is a good old cotton wool bud, and a bit of water, and then just mop it up basically really lightly, and it should stink into all your cracks, and that doesn't sound right, I want to use cracks, all in your panel lines, and leave quite a bit of a nice dirt layer as well, and sort of give you that sort of quite good dirt weathered effect. Now because I get very excited with my weathering, and I forget bits. So with this I can actually probably show you, but maybe a bit better, why it's good to do things in stages and actually take your time. So I get very excited with weathering and kind of forget bits and pieces. So once you've before you get onto this stage, what you're going to want to do is give it a matte varnish. Mainly this is because of your decals. Your decals are going to be really shiny, and the stuff it does stick to it, but when you start taking it away, it's going to completely come away with your Q-tip or cotton wool bud, whichever you're going to call it, and it takes a lot more away than what you'd want it to do. So I'll get you back over on the bench, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so here you can see we've put the wash on, and I'll show you where I meant before about getting overexcited. So you can see there that the wash hasn't took to the inlay of the panels. There on the other side you can see it kind of has, or how it should be. Just there. It's like, you can just about see it there. So what we have done is I've gone over it into the matte varnish, and we'll get our wash. Let's just give it a good shake, and then all we have to do is just slap it back on. So I'll just do it over the roundel, the markings there, on the main roundels as well. The other one, this one actually kind of got it, but I'm going to do it again anyway. Okay, so then all we'll do now is we'll leave that to dry, and we'll do it on the carriage doors as well. So we've got the inside there, and the outside of the opposite one, and the door. Just want to keep it all the same. So what I'm going to do, the reason I've done it with these ones as well, to sort of show you the sort of detail and effect that you can get on the inside parts, particularly like with the door there, with the panel lines. So we'll leave that to dry, and then we'll come back to it once that's dry, and I'll show you what to do next. So we've let it dry, and come in with cotton wool bud with a damp head on it. You don't want it soaking wet because you'll remove way too much. So just want a little bit, rub at it, and as you can see in the door there, you know, it sort of starts to highlight, you know, sort of the inlays of the door, and gives sort of like, you know, that bit of worn, dirty, used effect in there, which I quite like. I think it's really nice when it comes out like that. So I said, just keep working at it until you feel you're happy with that bit. So when we come to the main body of the aircraft, doing exactly the same thing, you know, damp cotton wool bud, just lightly removing the wash. Now what you've got to remember as well is that you want to be moving in the direction of like the aircraft, or if you're like using a car, you know, you want to sort of get the direction of the flow of the, you know, the dirt will be running off. So it's not just you know, just washed around and just all over the place. You kind of need a bit of direction in it, you know, to give that effect of, you know, it's been flying, dirt's been running off it, and whatever. So you know, you just need to make sure it runs in the right direction. Now, because I'm going over this again, I'm going to try to work around the roundel a little bit there. So, because I've already done the main body before, and with me cock up with the varnish over the roundel areas. So it says we're just following the direction of the aircraft, airflow over it, and then this is going to give us the effect of sort of the airflow of the rubbish working its way towards the back of the aircraft. So I'm quite happy with that. So now we'll move on, I think, to the gun ports. Okay, now so for gun ports, that's quite simple and easy to do and quick. So all you want is some pigment powders. So I'm using here AK's smoke pigment, and all we're going to want to do is get a brush, get a little bit of pigment on because we don't want a lot, and then the way I do it on the ports, you get a bit on the ends of each port, and then either I use a lot of makeup brushes because they're quite good. I don't know what these are for. I think they're eyeliner powder stuff. Either those, or again sort of for eye powder makeup, whatever these are as well, or even cotton wool buds will do. I do quite like to use these, and then quite easily, simply, just pull back on the powder, and we'll start to get some burn there. So with a lot of things, and as I always say, do a little bit at a time, a bit, so you don't go too heavy straight away. And that's all we do. If you don't like it, a bit of water will take that off. And as I've already done the underside, I don't know how well we can see that there, but I've added a bit of white in there because we're going on black, so you get a bit of singe in there, and the same around the ejectors as well. And then, you know, we'll do the same on the other side there. So nice, easy, simple and quick. After that we'll put a pigment fixer on top of that, which will seal the whole thing in. Now there is a reason why I've put I haven't put the patches over the gun ports, because I want to do this as it's been in operation, so it's been used, and it's ready to go again. So you've got a bit of smoke burn from the gun ports, and then once this is all done, I will put the patches over the gun ports to give it like as it's been, you know, since it's been used, and you know, she's ready to go again with nice new dope patches over the gun ports. Okay, so that's that for the gun ports, and we'll move on to the next bit. Okay, so sticking with the weathering powders, we're going to do the exhaust stacks. So what I've done is I've based the stacks black, and I've actually used a burnt iron base coat on top of that. I'm just trying something out with that one. So I'm using two pigments and doing dark rust and smoke, and I'm just going to base it in the dark rust first. So just slap that on. Rub it in so it's sort of caked on. Smoke and dab that in. And a little bit on the top. Okay, so this will darken it up again. And then I'll go back over with the rust again. This is the way I do it, I mean. Certain areas. Nice and easy. Now what I'll do now is I'll put a pigment fixer in, so it will darken it off a little bit as well. Might need to put another coat on, powder on top of that, because sometimes you get sort of a bit of a tie mark on there. There you go, nice and easy. Nice and easy. Okay, now so I'm going to be doing the oil streaks underneath the aircraft. So I'm going to be using aircraft engine oil by AK. So give it a good shake. It's a enamel based wash. You can use thinners to obviously thin it down, clean it and water it out. White spirits, anything like that, that's fine. It's quite good stuff. So you can see already that I've masked a couple of the panels out at the top here, with some referencing photos I've seen. That's where most of the oil starts to come out, and I've done it like that so we get a nice flat line from where it's run from outside underneath the panel, so I don't go too far up it and then make a bit of a mess and make it look a bit naff. So I can make a little bit of a mess there without having to worry about it too much. So I've got a few reference photos. I've got a couple of original aircraft Spitfires with these oil runs. I've also got a few from a couple of other modelers as well, just so I can kind of get this well, kind of right. I've done this sort of thing before, but you know, you want to get the right areas for this stuff to be pouring out of. So I think I'm going to start around about here. So when I'm going to be doing this, I am actually looking at reference photos, so this might be a bit wild and a bit with what I'm on about. I'll pop a couple of the reference photos I'm looking up now, so you can kind of see what I'm going from. It's a bit hard to choose because I'm not quite sure how much I want to be doing on this. I don't want to make it too much. Just want to make it look just right. So I've taught that much now. Let this dry. Strokes. And also we've got to bear in mind as well is how the fuselage is shaped, because it dimples a little bit here, and also you've got to think of the airflow as well. Makes all the difference. Now if you do make with this sort of stuff, you do make a bit of a cock up, or you're not happy with what you've done, just some thinners will sort that out. I'm going to be quite quick with it, mine. Okay, just like that. So we can use this to thin it out a bit more. So happy with it. And even the trail offs there. Probably inclined to do is use a cotton wool bud, which will help clear it. There we go. Take some of that off and go again. Alternatively, you can use really thin layers, watered down layers, and then build it up. A mixture of both. Build it up, and the cap turns up and starts making a lot of noise. What do you want, Sam? You want some fuss, don't you? You're going to have to wait and busy. Oh, here we go. This is usually what I try and avoid doing filming when the cat's about and he's out. This, but I'm going to attempt to do a little bit from here. So with stuff like this, you want to get a lot of reference photos before you start doing, especially if you're not quite sure on it, because you don't want it looking silly or not quite right. I do like to get these things as right as possible. Okay, so that's just the basic premises of that. So if I take this away there, you'll be able to see what I meant before. There you go, so hopefully you can see that there. So you can see how it's come out of the from underneath the panel there. So that panel's nice and clean. And it's seeped through the panel and then in the airflow, just obviously run further back. So I'm going to keep working on that, but I just wanted to show you that as you know, how we're going to sort of attack this little area, and maybe some other stains. We'll look at that. But there you go. Oil leaks underneath the aircraft. Okay guys, I'm going to leave it there for now because I've got quite a lot of bit of work to be doing with it still, and I've not got much memory on my phone because I do all this on my phone because just I can't bother to prat around with the camera at the moment. So it's not all about prattling around with the camera, it's about getting on with the model. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed that. I hope it helps you a little bit more with some of the weathering techniques. If not, give us a shout, put a comment in the comment section below. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can, and try and hopefully explain it a little bit more, or I can do you another video on that particular area. I hope you like the kit as well. So this is a really good kit. Tamiya 148 Spit is, you know, you've seen at the start of the video on how much effort they have put into getting all the detail in there and pretty much getting it right, which is really nice. You know, modern day modelling is just getting better and better into it, as we've gone from, you know, all the old raised panel lines to all the, you know, pretty much perfect, you know, proper panel lines as they should be. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it helps. If you haven't done this already, please like and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Sully's Models. And yeah, that's it for me. Again, final time, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps. And I'll catch you in the next one. Happy modelling.